I again YouTube um, went through a couple of different things that I thought I should talk about, but um, I decided today I wanted to talk about the experience of God in your life, what that genuinely looks like. And for me, there's obviously conversations with God, multiple conversations that I've had with Him over the years, and there's intimacy on a level that is terrifying. Honestly, we're not used to that level of intimacy, and um, there's prophetic utterances, so you gain prophetic knowledge at times. There's wisdom, obviously, but there's also real miracles. There's an interaction. God has an interaction with your world, and um, there's the possibility of very interesting things taking place, like healings, or maybe you find something that's been lost, or and it's just many different ways that God interacts with our world, in very practical ways. Um, so I kind of want to talk to you about my first miraculous experience. I was 18 years old. I had bought my first car when I was younger. People who were younger drove. I started driving when I was 15 years old, and I had my first car when I was 18. Things back then were a lot different in terms of like the cost of insurance or gas. My insurance cost about $10 a month, and gas was 75 cents a gallon. Now it's $75 a gallon. But anyway, so yeah, I had my first car, and I was very excited about that. And I had a girlfriend, and she was a very beautiful girl. Um, she was also very kind of nasty drunk, very difficult to sort of put up with, very childish and loud and opinionated and selfish, and there's a lot of reasons that I had to sort of um, not really want to spend a lot of time with her, but she was beautiful, and I really liked the way she looked in my car. Um, that's incredibly shallow of me, I know, but nevertheless, that was the truth. And I liked going out with her. I liked going places with her, being seen with her. And one day we went to the movies. So I was living in Calgary at the time. This is a Calgary Flames uh, jersey. I lived in Calgary most of my life. Um, and I met her there. And the city has grown tremendously over the last 3 decades or 4 decades. But back in the day, um, when there were a lot of older places around, there was a theater just on the edge of the outskirts of the downtown core, and that's where we went to see this movie. And it was kind of late, so when we got out, there wasn't a soul to be seen. We were the only people on the sidewalk. It was fall. It was a late fall evening, so it was quite chilly. And yeah, this place was empty. So we were walking from this theater back to where I parked my car. And when we got within, say, about a block of the car, I started feeling around in my pockets, as you'll do, looking for my keys. And I'm not finding them in this pocket or that pocket or the other pocket or any pocket. And I check every pocket 5 times, and like there are no keys. And I start wondering, okay, well, where could they be? Like, where did they go? Did I drop them? Did they fall out of my pocket? Did they fall out of my pocket on the way to the movie? Did they fall out of my pocket in the theater? Or did I lock them in the car? And if I did lock them in the car, are the doors locked? Are they all really locked? Or is maybe one of them open? And as I'm, going through all these different possibilities in my brain, I start walking a little faster and kind of leaving the girlfriend behind. At this point, the car is well within sight, and she probably thinks that I'm just, moving ahead so that I can open her door for her, which I would have loved to have been able to do. But when I got there, I found out that yes, indeed, there were the keys. I could see them from her passenger side, and her door was indeed locked. Good girl, she locked the door. My door was also locked. Um, we are in this dead zone, no people, nothing around, no buses, no way to get into this car unless I'm going to smash out a window. Um, and believe me, I did consider the possibility. By this time, she's sort of catching up to me, and she's wondering, what are you doing? She's saying, like, open my door. And by this time, I had gone around to my side again to just check the door. And I'm saying to God, as she's talking to me, oh God, how could you let me be so stupid? How could you let me leave my keys? Why didn't you warn me? I wasn't blaming God. I was blaming myself and taking full responsibility, but I was kind of crying out to him in like, you hope for something better. Christians generally do tend to think that God should treat us better than the rest of the world because we're special. And he said to me, and then I asked him, what am I going to do now? And he said to me, go to the bush down in the park and get the hanger that I left there for you. And I'm like, God, you're amazing. That's awesome. And so I spin and I start walking away, and I hear from behind me, where are you going? What are you doing now? And I'm like, she deserves an answer, right? She deserves some sort of a response. So I turned around and I said, I'm going down to the park at the end of the street to get the hanger that's there so I can open the door. And she says to me, do you think that there's a hanger under every bush in Calgary? I said, well, I don't know about every bush, but there's one under that bush, and I'm going to get it. And I turned back and I start walking towards the park, and I realized there's like 100 bushes at least in this park. And he didn't say which bush. And I'm thinking, well, whichever bush I go to, that's probably going to be the right bush, because if he had to be specific, he would have been specific. He would have told me which bush. So I figured whichever bush I pick is going to be the right bush, and I just keep walking. And I get to a bush, and I reach down underneath, and there's the hanger, right where it's supposed to be. And I come on back, and I open the door, and she's like, "That was priceless." And I think to myself after this, how good it is, to have God on your side. I mean, yeah, I could have smashed out the window or called a taxi, or we could have walked. She would not have been happy if we walked. Um, there were other possibilities, but I mean, that was awesome. All right, thanks, YouTube.